Wow, another great session. I can't believe how many sessions we've had today that have generated so much chat and so many great questions. And we haven't had time to answer them all today, but hopefully this distinguished panel that we have in front of us today can help address a lot of that. I'd like to welcome to the table Sam Biardo, founder of Technology Advisors, a great and longtime partner of Creatio, and Harshat Najir, Vice President of Professional Services for Solutions Metrics, one of our tier 5, that is our highest level partners that we have. Welcome, gentlemen, to the show today.
Thank you, Jason. Happy to be here.
Great. And again, we're continuing the global theme today. Harshat, you said you're down in the Dominican Republic. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. I'm here for some time, some time with the family.
I am very jealous. Sam and I are in Chicago, and I'm sure it's much warmer down there today. But good news is we're on our way out of winter. So welcome again for and take the time. Thank you for taking the time today. We want to spend the next 20 minutes kind of answering some general questions that a lot of folks have had throughout the day, and maybe hit on a few other points. And I'll start with you, Harshat. Solutions Metrics is doing all sorts of work with us right now, and focusing on delivering a lot of value for customers across in various industries and various verticals. But let's keep in mind that we're talking to manufacturing companies and CPG companies today. In your mind, what are some of the first things that companies should consider when they're looking at digital transformation and using low code to help drive process automation?
Yeah, thanks for the question. In my opinion, the first thing is really the culture. Culture is what is at the prerequisite of performing an agile transformation. A culture of failing fast, a culture of accepting mistakes, a culture of building smaller, more achievable goals. A culture where you're empowering people by giving them tools and technologies that they need to do their work better versus management of those employees. So I would say at the base, in my opinion, it's a culture. Once you have a culture of leadership where collaboration and agility is a part of the day-to-day processes, then we get into something called structure, right? Structure meaning having independent value-driven teams that are working not in silos, but having dedicated mandates to achieve what needs to be done versus being controlled at the hierarchy level. And then so on and so forth. If you go further into people as well, right? Understanding the role of understanding different roles in agile. For example, how do product owners differ in manufacturing versus a typical IT implementation would also help you really align where you want to go with the best practices that are available out there. And then to sum it up, it's technology, right? Technology, which is the forefront of driving digital innovation and change. We need to make sure the technology that we're using encourages collaboration, encourages quick response of whatever needed requirements are, which by products like Creatio enables by low-code, no-code technologies. Business users can augment their work by using low-code, no-code technologies and don't have to depend on heavy IT cycles to get the work that they needed to in the first place. So
yeah, I think you brought up a couple of great points there. And Sam, I want to continue on that thought. And Harshat brought up agile and being agile and transformative as you go through these, right? And it's not just a buzzword right now. It's become essential, especially for manufacturers, as we move into this new age. And I go all the way back to Heinrich this morning, talking about Industry 4.0, the availability of data, the availability of information, not only about the product, but about our customers and how they're using it. How is that really leading into this necessity to be more agile?
Well, I think the issue is, first of all, you have to understand your customer. I think that is something that people overlook. I think we had a culture, going back to Harshat's discussion, I think the culture previous to what we're seeing now was we're going to put in systems to automate or increase our efficiency, but they didn't consider the customer. And they did not consider how a customer buys. They didn't consider the buying journey. They didn't even understand their audience or persona. And so I think that was always been a big problem. I think the second big problem was that strategy was done in a 5 years, 10-year horizon, and it's not anymore. Your strategy is a 1-year horizon. Things are changing so quickly. You can't have a 5-year strategic plan. You can have one, just expect it to change all the time. So going back to the low code part of it is that what really was great about low code is that as long as you have a good understanding of what the customer wants and what the true customer experience is, you can rapidly develop products for a changing world that's changing in real time, not changing in a year from now or 2 years from now.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. We did a poll earlier. It was our second poll of the day that really talked about, the most effective way to increase agility in manufacturing. I think both of you hit on several of those points. And if I go back to the results of the poll, right, the options were investing in new technology, streamlining workflows, implementing data-driven analytics, developing agile leadership, and empowering the workforce. And ultimately, the answer that got the most votes was all of the above. And streamlining workflows was kind of the standalone on its own. I think if we look at that and kind of break that down a little bit, there's two major factors there, right? One is people can't handle the rate of change that the consumers have demanded, right? The pandemic just completely disrupted everything. And I know when I was sitting at home, it was very easy for me to just hop on the computer and, I want to buy something, and I expect that product or that good or that service to be delivered in a timely manner, in an accurate manner. And frankly, I just wanted it to be there, right? And so we became even more of a demand culture. And I think that's having a significant impact on both manufacturers and consumer good companies as well as service providers. Harshat, any thoughts on that topic?
Oh, I fully agree. I mean, we've all experienced that, Amazon, the rate at which people have used Amazon has, gone up significantly. But even more than that, I believe it's also needs of customers are just evolving daily in terms of what they need in their products as well. Even if it's not yet built, people want more and more and more. Take example of cars, right? It started from a simple, vehicle to take people from A to B. It transformed into an entertainment system, a climate management system, a sensor system. So as we are moving towards the agility with which people want improvements in the products has also gone up. So I believe that also is something, where it's becoming more and more hard for manufacturing companies to stay, abreast of the customer demands. And that's why, as Sam said, the strategy cycles have really shortened, to a year. And who knows, it may even keep coming down, right?
Yeah, I think that we can't predict the future. And Sam, as we continue to build on that thought, the ever-changing needs, it's the one thing that we can always count on is change, right? So
Right.
I know you work with a ton of different folks and a ton of different customers of ours in various verticals, but I really do think that manufacturing and consumer goods companies are bearing the brunt of this. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think they are too. The best experience, and it's I call it. I think it's sort of like the app generation, right? We're so used to everything happening instantaneously now, and a couple months ago, I screwed up, and I was actually moving some cables around, and I plugged the wrong charger into my network modem and fried it. Okay, so I like, oh, after 5, 6 o'clock at night on a Sunday, I can't believe this. I went on my phone, ordered another one from Amazon. It showed up on my door 4 hours later, and now that's my expectation.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I think that's what's really going on is the consumer portion of the world is delivering goods in such rapid speed that everyone's expectation is that why can't I have my widget built in 4 hours or 10 hours? And so you're seeing companies changing manufacturing techniques. We have a customer that makes custom parts using 3D printers for the auto industry. So as they're producing prototypes, and their response is 12 hours. So if they send them a drawing and they're based in Detroit, they have to have that part manufactured and delivered in 12 hours to the auto. So, and so that's, if you start looking at timeframes like that in manufacturing for custom parts, what's, where's the world going to? It's going to be rapid manufacturing, and it's
Yeah,
all
I
being
think
driven by Agile and technology. Yes.
Yeah, I think that you hit on something that's very, very interesting there, right? And start thinking about lot size one or lot size zero manufacturing, depending on who you are, right? That ability to have that data feed from the front all the way through the middle and all the way through the back to the manufacturing, right? Just down that supply chain or up the value chain, depending on how you want to look at it. It's becoming the norm. It's not something that's just a nice to have. I go back and I think of Adidas, right, or Adidas, depending on where you're at in the world. They were one of the first companies that I can remember where you could go online and place a custom order for one, and then you'd get that. At the time it was a month or two out, but realistically, you're right. Now companies are taking this data. They've got all the customer data. They've got the usage data. They know where it's at, what it's being used for, and they can do this in such a short period of time. And Sam, you mentioned that your order was fulfilled within 4 hours. Well, how did customers and how did companies do that? And it goes back to the next poll question, which was our third one, which was, how are emerging technologies having the greatest impact on manufacturing? And the two biggest vote getters there were, one, big data. So having data that you could build analytics tools, pre-position inventory, and then the other one was no code. Right? So it's how do I rapidly change? How do I rapidly move information from silo to silo to silo and break down those barriers that have always traditionally been there? Ashot, what are your thoughts on that topic?
Absolutely. It all goes back to, we need to get our products faster to the market and then faster in the hands of customers. So whatever entails in this end-to-end journey is something that needs to be started, at all levels of the supply chain. And like you said, no code plays a significant part in that. People earlier, you would imagine my business process and you would say, all right, you know what, in order to build it, it's going to be a few months, if not, quarters. And now people are looking for a daily turnover, right? So if I can map my business process, I want it to be there right now and then, because again, if you're using Agile as your principal mode of producing faster applications, you need to have systems that also support that. So absolutely, no code, even which augments automated processes. If I was doing 5 processes at a time manually, well, if I'm really needed on that one, and those 4 can be augmented by automation, well, why not? That significantly reduces my time, that reduces manual errors, that reduces anything where you have risks for human controlling it versus somebody that's automating that part. So going over to AI as well, right? As you're building, as the strategy cycles have gone down, like you're looking at a yearly strategy, you always need that real-time information that can help you understand what the next quarter needs would be, or the next 6 months need would be, so you can continuously evolve your supply chain. So technologies like these have become not only required, but I would say significantly important, or even essential for survival. If you want to compete with your competitors in the market, and you don't have these technologies, and your cycles to go to market are lengthened, well, you're already behind the race. So like I said, at the beginning, the culture is starts with the base, and then you need to have these technologies and processes complementing on top of it if we really want to achieve a faster cycle to the market.
Yeah, and Sam, we've been talking for the first 10, 15 minutes here about the supply chain, the manufacturing side. I think there's a whole nother area that a lot of times people forget around manufacturing and supply chain, or manufacturing and consumer goods companies, and that's the customer service aspect, right? So much has changed in that aspect. As the world changed, we no longer were able to go to the store, right? I can't just necessarily go deliver or return something back to the point that I bought it, right? Amazon, I can go return to various Amazon drop points. But how have things like low code, no code, and call it increased visibility to customer data helped manufacturing and consumer goods companies in this customer service space? Sam?
I think, first of all, it's a combination of big data and AI that sort of helps the customer service side. So we're trying to be a little more proactive, and you're starting to see that in some people when they order products. So there's this culture, particularly in products like Zappos, where people are buying 4 pairs of shoes and keeping one and sending the 3 back, and now they have to deal with that. And so the recommendation engines are now being driven by AI, and they're trying to be more focused on your information based on large amounts of data. So it's basically building a profile of you based on the profile of everyone has the same buying pattern as you do, and says, that's not probably a really good shoe. This person's probably not going to buy that, so let's not even serve that up anymore. And so I think you're starting to see that, and I think that's helping customer service in the sense that we have a lot less returns and a lot less issues and issue management. But then also the AIs are building that database and serving up better, more intelligent information about how to return a product. If Amazon does a good job of this. If you go to the Amazon and hit the return, it knows you've kept this product too long. It's got to be one of these 3, right? And it throws those up as your choices, and makes it sort of seamless to return the product, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, during our last session, I was trying to find it. We actually had someone who asked how low code and no code can be used in a warranty process. And we talked about it, right? It's that whole RMA,
Right.
that return authorization process, right? And I go back I want to tie in the 4th poll that we did, which was around the benefits, the key benefit that organizations can get from no code applications. And it's all over the place. And the winner in that vote overwhelmingly was automated workflows and returns and warranty management. Those are just some examples, right? And you mentioned Amazon, but it's not just Amazon. All manufacturers and all consumer goods companies are now having to deal with this, right? Look, let's be real for a minute. Manufacturers have had to ramp up. They've had to continue to push product. Well, the reality is sometimes that means you start having quality control issues because you've had to accelerate manufacturing. Well, okay, that's great, but that also leads to increased maybe quality control problems. You have to deal with them. So you have to have processes to deal with that. Harshad, I want to come back to you for a moment, and I want to talk a little bit about not just the customer service and the sales side, right? But I want to talk about how we interact with our customers, right? Omnichannel. It's a nice buzzword. Everybody talks about it. But, whether you're talking about email, text, phone calls, right? How is omnichannel and no code, how do those work together, and how has that changed how we interact with our customers?
So as I'll just piggyback off Sam's initial point that it starts from the customer journey. You need to understand what are your connection points, what are your talking points, or where are your customers going to talk to you, or what is their preferred channels of communication. Low-code technologies like Creatio help organizations not only identify these, but also build systems that can accommodate the need of the end customer. So for example, Amazon, it's great, we know also from the website, but also from the phone. You call them, you get answers fast. How is that possible? By using these low-code products, like it provides not only the end customer, but also the internal users an omnichannel experience. So whether a need is coming from a website or from a chat or from an email or from a phone call or from social, you name it, it all comes inside the organization through a very coherent process, which lands on the customer service desk, which makes it easy for them to not only view the information of their customer, but also be able to respond to them in a timely manner and with accurate, and with accurate information. Now you put on top of that chatbots, right, or automated technology that not only helps the customer service reps, but also helps the consumer, because some of the information is really accessible without even getting in touch with an actual rep. So how is it really made possible is through rapid development cycles, right? When you talk about low code, the key thing is you have a development that is faster, that is stronger, and that is something that a lot of it can be directly done by the business people themselves, and you don't have to heavily rely on IT. So it's coming from both sides, right? Not only from the consumer, which we have been discussing till now, but at the end of the day, it has to be acceptable and user-friendly to the internal users, so that they also feel that this omni-channel experience is not only helping the end customer, but also them in improving their efficiency. So that's pretty much, how I see it.
Sam, let's keep building on that. Let's talk for a minute about how this omni-channel has not only changed the way that we're interacting with customers. How is it helping? How is it helping manufacturers and consumer good companies with customer retention and net promoter score?
Well, one of the things it does is it lets customers talk in the way they feel most comfortable. And the great part about the fact that everything's being recorded now, right? Let's get
Yeah.
that on the table. So whether you send me a text message or you send me an email, that's all being recorded and stored in my CRM. And frankly, I can do analytics on that. I can learn that Jason responds faster to emails than text messages. So maybe I should respond. Maybe I should be emailing him, not text messaging him. Or everyone will know that if you try to call me, it goes right to voicemail. So give up. You know. So those types of things are going to start become apparent, and we're going to learn about omnichannel that way. We're going to learn what channel's best. But the most important thing I think right now with omnichannel is you can get the message out from an outbound perspective to your customers by the channel that they like the most and is most appropriate for the time. So maybe during the business day that is email, but maybe if they're near your office or near your store, maybe that's a text message, or or maybe it's coming through Facebook or some social media. And so I think the real power is going to be in the next few years. We're going to start understanding what is the most effective channel on a per person basis, individualized, and we're going to start communicating with them through that specific channel.
No, I think you absolutely nailed that on the head, and I agree with you. If someone calls me, I don't have time. I don't answer my phone. You text me, I'll get back to you almost immediately, because I may be in a meeting. I may be having a great panel discussion like we've had here today, right? But I can see that my phone's got a text message on it. I'll get to it when I can. Gents, I wish we had an hour. We could have done this all darn day, and I'm glad we got started a few minutes early. Sam, Harshat, I want to thank you so very much for joining us today. It's been a wonderful discussion. I've seen all sorts of great comments in the live chat, in our chat internally. This has been wonderful. I greatly appreciate it, guys.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Pleasure.